Hello, everyone. I was going to tell a short story, about how the Spirit has worked in my life, throughout my life. And as I thought of it, more and more came. And I'm going to try to put that out. So I might make this in a couple, short videos. I wish I could better keep my thoughts straight. I was going to take a shower. I have a lot to do today. And then, come in and do it. But I decided it's best if I just come and do the video right now. So, it started last night at work, and I was, don't know how we got into it. I've been talking a lot to an employee I just hired, and she's been watching my videos, and she actually, she's been going through counseling for probation. And she was in group yesterday, and she, which this isn't boastful, but it did make me feel good that I'm doing something right. But, well, that is another story. They asked everyone around the room to tell of a positive influence in their life, and she told them about me, her boss and friend, and because I knew to get her while she was on probation that maybe I could help her while because she's had, which we all have had, some drug and alcohol problems. Well, mine was the alcohol. But that's what she first began to say is, told how I quit drinking for about 8 years ago or so. And that's a whole other story, and how I've been showing her my videos and talking to her about the Father, and she's just really inspired to do better, and that's what I'm here to do, inspire people and lift them up, because some is low, the world has made many low. But that's a whole other story. That's not the story I'm telling right now. I could say many things. We'll save that for another day. It's when you're letting the Spirit, the Father, work in your life. The Spirit be seen in your life. But that's another story. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to speak about today. But anyway, it started, I told her about a dog, because sometimes having no knowledge, this might end up being long. But having no knowledge, you have thoughts, things happen, and you really don't know how to register. You say things. So I'm going to start at the beginning, and this will all unravel, and I hope you stay with me, because there's a truth to learn from this story, more than I thought when I thought of it. But I have to make some of it short. I had a house that me and my ex-husband, our first house, and he called me, and I ended up saving it from being foreclosed. And the man that I was engaged to at the time, we moved in with our children to the house. I saved it from being foreclosed, and we moved in, and the neighborhood had really went down. And so I was talking to a neighbor, and I was sitting on my porch one day, and I think my twins must have been maybe 4. I don't know. Could have been younger. I'd have to go back to, when I saved the house from being 4. Anyway, so I'm sitting on the porch and talking to a neighbor about how the neighborhood was when we bought the house, and now that I've saved it, I'm not sure because it was growing a little dangerous. And I said, I wish I had a dog, because, my kids would play out in the yard, and I don't let my kids out of my sight, never have. They're still right across the street from me. But I was sitting on the porch, and I said, I don't know, some of my kids might have been sitting with me, but I said, I wish I had a dog that had grown up with my children that could watch over them. As soon as the words came out of my mouth, before they was even finished, as I was speaking that sentence, Marky, my son, one of my twins, comes running around the house. Mama, Mama, look what the old lady gave me. Little black puppy. And I looked at my neighbor, and I'm like, isn't that crazy, And you wonder, but I had no, and I still don't understand fully, but there's a lot of understanding that will come from this scriptural in truth, spirit, truth. But, so, I thought that as well. He must be sent. We say things we don't understand. It's just some things you chalk up to coincidence, and then through the years you find out, no, it wasn't a coincidence. Now that I'm coming to understand. But, so I walked out to the alley, because he was in the backyard. And so I walked to the alley, there's no one there, But that's the word out of his mouth is, Mama, Mama, look what the old lady gave me. And it's so funny because there was no one in the alley, and then a few years ago I was talking about it, and Marky's like, yeah, that was that boy and girl back there that gave me Jake. I said, you didn't say two people. You told me, Mama, Mama, look what the old lady gave me. Excuse me. So, I told him, I think you're getting two different stories mixed up. Maybe something else that happened before that I can't remember. But anyway. So I knew, I thought, he must be sent for it to come around the corner as soon as, while the sentence is coming out of my mouth. So I, busy, I had 5 children by time 26. That's why I went a little crazy too. It was rough. But I didn't have a lot of time to think of a name, but I was going to name them something, biblical, I guess. So I named him Jake. Jake is what came to me, and after Jacob. So I'm gonna try to make this short though, and I'm gonna do it in part. So Jake was Marky's. Jake was a great dog. He looked like a full-blooded black lab. He was beautiful. He was such a good dog. And so, they grow up together. But Marky, Jake was always Marky's. That dog would not leave Marky. And, so they get a little older. And we ended up, living back with Grandma for a little while. That's home. Anytime I needed to go, I could always go home. And so we moved back to the neighborhood I grew up in, and the boys would be, and you throw it off as coincidence. This would go faster after I get going. You throw it off as coincidence, and it's so funny telling the story now because you only knew I didn't have understanding before. I only had thoughts. And so there'd be times the kids would be riding their bikes all together, and any time that Marky, there'd be my boys and other neighborhood kids riding their bikes, and if Marky was to turn around, Jake would leave the other kids and always follow Mark. Mark didn't call him. Jake just never left Mark. And there were a couple times where when Marky would be riding bike, by himself or whatever, Jake would sit in the street, like blocking cars. And I saw it a couple times, and I can't remember. I just remember thinking, that's a weird dog. And then there was a certain time that there was no coincidence about this time. And I didn't understand things, but I was sitting on Grandma's porch or out in the front yard or something, and Jake was sitting, there was a 4-way stop sign. Actually, it was it was a 2-way. It was a 2-way stop, and the one didn't have a stop. It was just in the neighborhood, a little crossing. And Jake was sitting dead in the middle of the stop. And there was a car that had come and was stopped. Jake had stopped the car sitting dead in the middle of the crossing. And then, I can't remember if the car honked or not, but Jake wasn't moving. Jake was sitting there staring at the car. Not going to move. And I'm looking at the weird dog. Mark's nowhere in sight. And then all of a sudden, Marky comes, because the guy was on the right of way. He didn't have to stop. Marky would have had to stop at that stop sign. And the next thing you know, Marky comes up from Margaret's house. Side of Mark's house, drives right by, just crosses the street, where Heisha was the one that had to stop. And then as soon as Marky crosses the street, Jake, gets up and trots behind him. And, the car went on. But at that time I knew, it's like, no way. That dog just stood there looking at the car, But I'm going to try to make this short. So I'd seen little things, but that was, but I had no knowledge of how things work. He was a protector of all kids. I can remember one time a friend of mine had not so much him, I guess, but he was a good dog. But a friend of mine was yelling. He would get drunk and yell at his kids. And I remember him yelling at one of his boys one time, and my dog almost got him. And he was not a dog to bite. He just warned him, don't touch that kid. So anyway, okay, my grandma, and she'll never forgive herself for this, what she because Jake was a big dog, and she didn't, I had to move in there for a little bit, and she ended up calling the pound on Jake. And I was going through a lot right then, or I wouldn't, I just let it go. The lady that came out to get Jake, she had told me she knew a few people that had farms and, places she said she knew that one would take them. And I know, people tell children that when their dogs get taken or something, oh, I went to the farm, or when your dog dies, or runs away, you make them believe something. But this woman, I know Jake went somewhere, probably protected some other kid. But anyway, not him, but the spirit who can work through any of the creation. So, where was we at then? Okay, so after Grandma got rid of Jake, Marky just got his annuity check, his third one, yesterday, which was his birthday. And I just mentioned that because he got it from like a week later, after Jake had been given away. Marky got hit by a car. And if it would have been like an inch and a half over, Marky could have died. And Grandma thought that too. If Jake had been there, Marky wouldn't have got hit. But it was at a crossing. But who knows? But so that's the story of Jake. Well, that's the story of Jake, and you've heard other stories, where people have claimed that, where dogs have. It's not only claimed, they went in and saved people from fires or different things. I know I've heard many different stories like that. But I'm going to cut this short here, and then I'm going to, because I wanted to keep it like 10 minutes. But there is much to learn from, more came to me as I thought of these things. So I'm going to continue in the next video. Much love to you. May Father bless you.